Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're going to take a closer look at my E87 130i. Now, I only bought this car a week ago, just got it home a week ago, and I haven't done anything to it. I've not washed it, nothing, so as it stands now is as it was when I got home on the day. Now, other than having a quick look around the car before I handed over the money when I bought it, I haven't had a real thorough look, so we'll be doing it together today. We'll have a bit of a poke around, see what's what, and see what the car might need in the near future, what sort of condition it's in. And we're certainly looking into the unknown here because it came with no service history, and this is completely normal here in New Zealand. I know certainly over in the UK people do get a bit obsessed about buying a car. It's got to have plenty of service history, full service history, whatever, but it's certainly not the case over here. Very common to get a car with no service history whatsoever, especially with Japanese imports. The majority of the cars here are Japanese imports, and I think it would be pretty redundant anyway because most of it would be in Japanese. So we are staring into the unknown with this one, but every car I've ever bought in New Zealand has never had any service history, and I've always just looked at the car on face value, and then we'll figure out what the condition is and what we're going to need to do to it. So in today's video, I'm not going to get too much into what an E87 130i is, or the specs that my car has, you know, what equipment it came with. I want to do a separate video on that once I've got the car completely cleaned up. Today's video, we're just going to have a bit of a poke around and see what's what, just a bit of a light evaluation of the car, and then we'll figure out what we want to do with it. But plans so far for the car, certainly the first job will be to get it all cleaned up, exterior, interior, engine bay, and then we've got a nice clean car to work on. And then from there I'm going to go throughout the whole car, give it a baseline service, get all the fluids and filters changed. I don't know what fluids are in there at the moment, I don't know when they were last changed. I'm pretty certain that the differential and the gearbox oil are probably original. I'm guessing that the brake fluid is pretty old, which is normally typical with pretty much every BMW I've ever bought. So we'll go throughout the whole car, all fluids and filters, give it a good change, and then that gives us a nice baseline to go off. We'll know exactly what's in there and the condition of it, and then from there we'll start working through any bits and pieces that are broken, get the car completely sorted, and then later on we might look at tweaking the car here and there, maybe upgrade it where we can, maybe, but that's a bit further down the line at this stage. So like I say, other than having a quick look around it when I first bought the car, I've not had a real thorough look. I bought the car about a week ago, and since I got it home I've been busy at work, and it's winter here in New Zealand, so every night after work it's been dark, so this will be my first proper look in the daylight, so we'll be doing it together. But I have driven the car over 1,000 kilometers. It took a couple of days, so what I do know about the car is the engine runs really nice. There's no lifter tip with that N52 engine from cold. It seems to run really good. Gearbox seems to operate lovely, clutch operation and everything seems alright, no strange noises from the throwout bearing, so that seems all good. The gear changes feel nice and solid and notchy, there's no slop there. If I was really critical, I'd say that first, second and third do feel a little bit too notchy, so I'm hoping a gearbox oil change might smooth things out there slightly. If it doesn't, then we might move on to look at doing the shifter bushes maybe, but we'll see how we get on with that. Now the car had 126,000 kilometers on it when I bought it, and I was surprised how tight the suspension felt. So driving down here, the car felt really tight on the suspension. It was real planted to the road, held the road really well. But one thing that did stand out to me was the shocks didn't feel as compliant as they could be. Now I know these cars didn't have the most amazing suspension setup from the factory, but this does have the M Sport kit. And yeah, the suspension felt nice and tight, the springs felt alright, but it was almost like the shocks, they're either just the way they're rated from the factory just isn't quite right, or, and probably more is the case, that they're really worn out. Now from what I understand, it's got the original Sachs shocks on, and they're really good shocks from the factory, but they don't last that long. Normally once you get to about 100,000 kilometers, 60,000 miles, they're starting to get a bit sloppy, starting to get a bit worn out. So I'm guessing that they're worn out and that's affecting the suspension the way it is. So we'll probably look at putting a new set of shocks in or upgrading things a bit later on. Not sure what direction to go with that at this stage. I know there's the Birds kit that a lot of people rave about, very well respected company over in the UK. As far as I understand, they've got some custom valved Bilstein shocks, and then the springs are slightly softer than factory. Now I've been really happy with the ride as far as stiffness goes, so I don't really want to go any softer, and I know the Birds kit's more set up for UK B roads, so things are a bit different over here, so I certainly don't want to go any softer, but I don't want to go any harder either. I don't want to set this up as a hardcore track car or anything like that. It's just going to be a fast road car, an everyday car pretty much, so I don't want to go too crazy with that. I know there's the Bilstein B12 kits out there, a lot of guys seem to like that, but I think that's going to be a bit too hard for what I'm looking for, so we're going to keep it sensible, but we just want to maybe improve on things where we can. So yeah, we'll see. I'll have to have a think about that, and I haven't quite made my mind up with that yet, so we'll see what we're going to do with that later on. And everything seems to work fine, all the electrics, the AC blows really cold. Yeah, so generally it's a pretty good car really, but of course it is what, 15 years old now, so there will be bits and pieces here to do. There'll be plenty of videos to make, but yeah, let's dive in and have a look, eh? So this car's a Japanese import. It was imported about 6 months ago, and first things first, we can see there's a sticker in the windscreen here that lets us know that the odometer's been certified and passed as genuine. It's not been wound back, so that's a little bit of reassurance, but certainly you can see and feel by the condition of the car that it seems like it's got about 126,000 Ks on, so yeah, I'm happy with that. And if we take a look inside to start off with, you can see we've got the M Sport kit, so we've got M badges here, there and everywhere. Got the sports seats, sports steering wheel, got the anthracite headliner, super cool. And then we've got stickers here and there from Japanland. I'm not quite sure what they mean, but we'll look at removing them eventually. Now the 130i's with the M Sport kit have got the perforated leather steering wheel, gear knob and handbrake lever there. Now these are quite susceptible to heavy wear. Really early on they don't wear that well, but condition of this, it's not showing any real wear to make any note of, so I'm real happy with that. Looks pretty good. The seats are not in bad shape. I want to give that leather a good clean up. It's got the Boston leather, so we'll give that a good clean and a feed when we get round to it. But yeah, there's no rips, tears, no wear marks to really note. It's pretty hard wearing leather anyway. It's not like the merino I've got in the M5, but it's alright. I did find these seats, although we've got the sports seats, got the adjustable bolsters and everything, they're super snug. I didn't find them that comfortable on a long journey in comparison to the E60 or even X5. So although they're super snug, not that comfortable on a long journey. Got the electric seats, that all works. We've got the Nightmare iDrive CCC system. Now everything works with that operationally, but with it being from Japan, all the radio stations are miles off. I can pick up maybe 2 radio stations here in New Zealand, and of course there's navs, basically non-existent, might as well not even look at it, but nowadays I just use my phone for that anyway, so that's not a big deal. But it's a cool option. Some people like it, some people don't. Then of course the Velcro's all worn out on the driver's floor mat as usual, keeps bunching up under the pedals, so we'll just look at replacing that at some point as well. Now one of the first things you notice when you jump in the car is these A-pillar trims. They should be anthracite, but they're gone like a light blue colour. It must have been hammered by the sun wherever it was parked in Japanland, and yeah, they've just got a bit sun faded. Now the headliner's alright, that's all black, so we'll look at just replacing them pillar trims. And the leather on the steering wheel, like I say, it's not bad shape, but we do have the typical soft touch scratches here and there on the plastic trim there, so we'll either clean it up and respray it, or I might even just replace it. Want to get that tidied up. But other than that, it's not bad in here really, so yeah, a couple of little tidy up jobs. It wants a real thorough clean, and it should be looking tip top after that. Alright, so next up we'll take a look under the bonnet, under the hood. So you've got your N52 engine here. It looks pretty honest under here. It's not too filthy, but it's not too clean either. So one of the first jobs I want to do is give this engine bay a real thorough clean and a detail. I don't like working on a mucky engine if I can help it, so that'll just give us a nice clean engine to move on from, nice clean engine to work on. It came in from Japan, so there's no real corrosion or rust to speak of. All the bolts and everything look pretty good, and I've had pretty good luck with cars from Japan over the last few years while I've been living in New Zealand, so happy with that. Got the normal horrendous mess around the power steering reservoir there. We'll get that cleaned up. Now these N52 engines are notorious for oil leaks, but if we take a look down here, it's looking pretty good. I got pretty lucky with this one. Now the previous owner, he owned it for about 6 months, and he told me that the dealer that he bought it off, he ended up taking it back to him to get the rocker cover gasket replaced, tidied up, and also the oil filter housing gasket. So that's 2 jobs that are sorted. So no oil leaks at this stage. Not great for a channel car because I could have done a couple of DIYs there, so missing out a bit there, but there's plenty of other jobs I want to do on the car. So super cool that that's all sorted and I've got no oil leaks to contend with. If we take a close look on the top side of the under tray there's no white blotches or stains, so pretty good for coolant leaks also. Bonnet cables looking a bit raggedy here, showing its age, so probably look at changing that portion out at some stage. The soundproofing under the bonnet there, that's in good shape. Now these cars, they're notorious for these becoming raggedy and falling away, but it's still in place and it's looking good. So yeah, generally it looks good, it looks tidy, it looks reasonably well looked after, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I've got to take my hat off to the Japanese, the way they look after their cars. I don't know if it's the culture over there or what, but they all seem to be looked after properly and kept nice and clean. So yeah, that's awesome to see. I always like that. Alright, so exterior wise, the car's filthy at the minute. It hasn't received a clean or anything like that since I got it home. It's also covered in rain droplets from today. It's pretty misty out there today, damp and cold, so we can get a real evaluation of the bodywork and paint once we've cleaned it up. But generally there's no dents or scrapes or anything like that. There seems to be a decent gloss on the paint. I'm assuming there'll be the odd mark here and there, but nothing we can't sort out. But once I get the car cleaned up, I'll have a proper look at the paint and then I'll make a decision which way I want to go with it, whether it needs a correction or not. I'll probably look at claying the car myself and cut and polishing it just to give it a nice shine, but we'll see what it looks like once we get it cleaned up. Now the headlamps, super faded. The yellowing slightly, so I want to get them sorted out, and it also looks, once you get a bit closer, like it's been hit with a clear coat. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, it's hard to tell, they're a bit wet at the moment. Now using clear coat on headlamps is not something I'd ever want to do myself. Now you'll probably see on my channel I've done a couple of headlamp restoration videos. I did one headlamp on the E60 M5 and I did both of the headlamps on the X5 recently. They came up real good, put some protection on them. So I'm not going to go mad changing out both headlamp units on this car, super expensive, so I'll give them a restoration and a bit of protection. Hopefully they'll come up good. Side indicators all yellow, they want replacing, typical. Then round the back here, one thing I did notice when I was driving home, it pretty much poured it down with rain the whole way. The old B-day isn't working on the rear wiper there, so we'll get that sorted out too. Super common problem on these E87s. It's got the huge fishing rod beasting aerial there. I'm not quite sure what I think about that. It's a bit too long for my liking, so I'll see if there's a stubbier version available out there. We might look at replacing that, we might not, I'm not sure. We'll see. Rear lamps, all good. Doesn't have the shadow line ones, that might look good with the black paint, but they're fine for now. The wheels look alright, no major curbing or gouges out of them, they look alright. Now all 4 brake discs look to be the original BMW ones. I should say they're the original ones that were fitted to the car because all 4 of them are showing a decent lip. They're not too worn out, but yeah, they are getting a bit lippy. And the brake pads, there's heaps of meat on them, so I should say the brake pads have been replaced maybe once or twice in the life of the car, but the discs do look original. Now if we take a look through the wheel arch gap here, you can see the springs look alright. And then bump stops, they're in really good condition. They look like they've been replaced recently. Super common problem on these, with them getting all beat up and worn out and just falling to bits, so that looks like it's been sorted at some point. I can't quite make out what condition the shocks are in, whether they're original or been replaced or what. I'll have to pull the wheels off to have a proper look. At the back end, looks to have had the same treatment, new bump stops. That looks alright. We'll see if we can get a look at the shocks from underneath. Don't know if you can make it out on the camera there, but they look to be genuine BMW items. Not quite sure how old they are. The label still looks pretty new, so yeah, not sure about that. Alright, so let's have a look under the rear end here. So looking at them lower control arms, looks like they've had the bushes replaced not that long ago, looking nice and shiny around the edges. So that's super cool, looks like it's been well looked after. And that'll probably explain why the car rode so nice on the way down. The suspension felt nice and tight, so that's super cool. Same on the other side. And that rear muffler looks like it's been replaced at some point, because you see it's got a clamp there. I'm pretty sure they were fully welded through from the factory. It does sound, it's like the standard muffler though. I'm pretty sure it's not a performance one, but it would be nice to get one on there in the future if we can find a cheap second-hand one. They're not too rusty on the rear subframe. These cars do suffer with that quite badly, especially over in the UK, but coming from Japan land, looks pretty good and pretty clean. Happy with that. Take a look in the boot. Struts are getting pretty weak, very common, so we'll look at replacing them. They do hold the boot up still, but it's a little bit saggy. Had to buy a tin of fixer flat on the way down because no spare wheel with this one, and it doesn't have the run flats on there anymore, so to rely on a tin of that stuff just in case. So let's see what we've got in here. Little CD changer, lovely. I love a good CD changer. I'm old school, I'm not big on downloaded music, so love me CDs in my car. And then it's got the hard drive for the navigation there, the Japanese setup. That's no good to us. Yeah, it's not too bad in here, pretty clean. And under the flap, had a new battery not that long ago. It's got the toolkit. Battery's got the green light on there, so it should be good for a fair few thousand miles to go. Yeah, nice and clean, looks alright. Alright guys, so there we have it. That's just a quick overview of the condition of the E87 130i that I recently bought. So it's not bad condition overall, especially for the age of the car. I'm really happy with it, but there are going to be some little jobs to do here and there, and like I say, we're going to give it a thorough service. But once I get the car cleaned up, I want to put a video out on having a real good look at what a 130i is. We'll have a look at how it drives, and we'll also go through the spec and what options I've got on this one that I've bought. But anyhow, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW content. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.